Layer structuring, part 2. Last time we looked at the simple way I set up penciling and inking layers in Clip Studio Paint, but here's where layer structuring really gets important. By the way, this video mostly applies to Photoshop and Procreate as well, just without a few cool CSP features like layer color. Here are all the layers, and I know it may look complex, but we can break it down into 4 core zones: the flats, the clipping layers, the line work, and the glow effects. The flats, or the flat colors of the character, are the foundation we're building up from. In this zone, but hidden, I have my reference layers set to reference, of course, and a gray layer I use for when I'm drawing the lighting effects. I'll explain why later. Above the flats are the clipping layers, and this, in my opinion, is the most important. This is where things really come together. These layers are set to clip down to the flats layer, so anything I do on these layers is effectively going to be masked by what's on the flats layer. These clipping layers are almost always set to a layer color. I'm working in all of these layers with black only, but the layer color turns that black into that color. This enables me to move quickly between layers without having to resample the color I'm using on that layer, so I can go to shadows and add some shading, then go right to rim lighting and add some of that, then go to yellow gleam to work there without ever once having to resample a color. It's fast and efficient, y'all. Let's go up these layers one by one and take a look. Soft shadows is a layer of airbrushed shadow set to linear burn. I mostly use cell shading for my lighting, but a subtle layer like this really sets things off. Shadows is a muted, desaturated purple set to multiply, and I use this color a great deal. I like how colors respond to it, and skin tones always look good with it. It's just not good for every lighting scenario. You wouldn't use this color in a jungle scene, but I use it a lot. Rim lighting is reflected light. I'm using white set to screen for this one. This part's always really fun to play around with because this is where you find the image popping the most. When you're working on this layer, you're almost always seeing the image coming to life. Soft gleam is the highlights version of soft shadows, an airbrushed layer that just adds brightness, but instead of a color, this time I used a correction layer, these things, upping the hue, saturation, and luminosity. It's set to screen. I'd love to tell you I had a good reason for doing this, but really I just tried it and liked it. Red gleam is the highlights on the red armor. They're light blue to match the blast color, and they're set to screen. Yellow gleam is the highlights on the gold armor. Even though these two armor colors have the same light source, I'm using 2 different lighting colors. This is a bit of a cheat, and I did it just because I felt the gold armor wasn't responding well to the blue light. That happens now and then. Sometimes you'll find using a different shadow on a skin tone helps the skin respond more realistically. Sometimes when working on these lighting layers, you miss an area. This is where that gray layer from the flats comes in handy. To use that, I just slide it up in the stack, so now all the clipping layers clip down to it instead of the colors. Now you can see everything. When you're done, just slide it back down out of sight. Alright, that was the clipping layers, and that was a lot. The next zone is line work, and it's pretty self-explanatory. The only thing to note here is that if you want to color the line work a bit, as I've done here, I use a clipping mask and draw in the color. Done. Next is glow effects. These go above everything. They're set mostly to screen, add glow, and hard light, depending on what you need them to do. Mostly just play around until you like how things look. A rule of thumb for glow effects is to have the glow around a highlight more saturated than the highlight. The actual blast is very pale and not at all saturated. Around it, though, is a much richer blue. You can really get some good glow effects this way. These are my layers for my Iron Man piece. If this looked complicated, look at this file from artist Alex Redfish by comparison. He kindly let me take a look at his layers, and then when I got in here, I was horrified. It's sloppy and all over the place, but honestly, you can't argue with results. Look at this thing. I couldn't do something that looks this good. The artwork looks great, and if this process works for him, and it clearly does, he doesn't need to change a thing. You can buy this layered file here if you're curious to check it out for yourself. So yeah, again, there's no one right or wrong way to structure your layers if the technique is strong and your result looks good. Just make sure you understand how layers stack, and you can go anywhere from there. Check out all the socials listed on my profile and follow me for more Clip Studio Paint tips.